Recording in progress.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eva. I'm the chaplain here, part of the spiritual care department at Mount Sinai Behavioral Health Center. I wanted to just take this opportunity to walk through a little bit about how we care for our Jewish patients here at MSBHC. So, one important thing I want to focus on is a patient's kosher diet. We often hear that a Jewish patient is requesting either a vegetarian or a kosher diet. And kosher is food that meets religious requirements set by Jewish law. So a certain rabbi might say that certain practices have to take place for that food to be acceptable for them according to their religious needs. Now, for some folks, those might be a bit broader. A rabbi might say a certain amount of food is okay. And then for other, we might say Jewish sects or denominations, they might have stricter rules. And now in our facility, we don't have all of the capabilities to carry all of that food. So for some of our more observant patients, we might say they might have a volunteer group such as Bikur Holim come and bring them the food that their particular rabbi says is okay for them to eat. That's the difference between some of these different kosher certifications. So we have some things available for many of our Jewish patients, but there are other things for some Jewish patients that we don't have available here, which is why we use our community contacts so that then we can care for all different kinds of patients. And moving on to one particular practice that happens about once a week for our Jewish patients is Shabbat or Shabbos, which is the Sabbath. And that typically is sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday. This is a special time where patients may want to engage in a particular prayer on Friday evening to mark the occasion. They often use it as a time of rest and restoration. They often don't participate in work. For a more observant patient, they might not be permitted to go to group or permitted to write in a group. It depends on the particular patient, which is where you would talk with me as well as the team, and we can decide what's most appropriate for them according to that religious need and religious observance. So Shabbat, they might want to light a candle. We have the little electric tea lights in the nurses station. They have a particular prayer they might say before a meal, and they might need some special assistance just because they shouldn't be doing certain forms of work. And again, if you have questions about that, we can talk on Friday prior to that time. Moving on to the other side, things that happen less often, we have our major Jewish holidays. So there are a few different holidays that happen throughout the year. The first one is Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, where sometimes if we have a more observant patient, they may ask to hear the blowing of the ram's horn, where I'll bring in a rabbi, and then we have that moment for them to observe this New Year through that special observance. We have Yom Kippur, which is the major solemn holiday, which is focused on prayer. Sukkot, which will be coming up a little bit after those holidays. It's an earth-based holiday where patients may want to do special prayers related to celebrating the earth, where we use this big citrus fruit, which I wish I could show you now, along with some leaves that they shake together while saying these prayers. So if you have a patient that's interested in observing that, go ahead and let me know. We typically do have those items available. We have Simchat Torah, which is a special Torah reading, where if we do have a patient who wants to observe that, I would bring in a rabbi. Hanukkah, which during the sort of winter season, we'll have the menorah set with the nightly lighting of special candles. For us, it's a little button that we get to press each night. Passover, where it'll be a longer period. This is one of the longer holidays available, part of this list of Jewish holidays, where patients will have a special set of meals that are kosher specific to the holiday. Again, it's these rabbis that have read the Jewish laws, read this sort of religious text saying, certain things have to take place or certain foods are not allowed to be eaten during that time, such as, let's say, a loaf of bread. Instead, they would opt for matzah or that thinner cracker since it's not a risen bread, which is why on my presentation it says without leaven. So that's one of a few differences that a kosher for Passover meal would be eaten during that holiday, during the Passover holiday. So a patient may say, okay, I do want to observe Passover and I want those special kosher for Passover meals. And then lastly, we have Shavuot, where a patient may want to hear the Ten Commandments from a rabbi that I might bring in, or they may want to do more Torah reading. And again, I have those texts available. So during these different holidays, I like to make an announcement, work with the team, let everybody know that I'm available for support. And if not myself, working with our community rabbis to help bring those holidays and that observance here for those patients. So that is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, please send me an email, give me a phone call, or most importantly, send me an epic message through that spiritual care line. If you don't get me, you get my supervisor who can also answer these questions, especially during that kind of non-business hours. So thank you and all the best.